Hello, welcome back to Math Time with Professor Prime, and I am your host, as always, Professor Prime. And today we're going to be talking about math in Devil May Cry, one of my favorite video game franchises ever. Devil May Cry is an amazing series, and some of the games in that series are among my favorites. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about how math is used in Devil May Cry, and I'm going to kind of talk about it across the board. Kind of like talking about some of the things with the first one and how that leads to some of the things in the later games and how that all works and how it's really cool how math is used in this series. I'm also going to be kind of giving a loose review of the franchise and talking about how it relates to some Devil May Cry material outside of video games because it's all connected, and I'm gonna be kind of analyzing things as I go. There may be spoilers in this one. If you want to be extra safe, just assume that there are going to be spoilers ahead. Actually, you know what? Yeah, there are going to be spoilers ahead because there's something that I want to talk about with a huge spoiler that admittedly Capcom ruined and kind of spoiled in the trailer for Devil May Cry 5 when it came out years ago. But that's besides the point. Spoilers ahead. Let's get into it. Okay, so with Devil May Cry, it is an action game. It is a hack and slash. As some of the kids these days are saying, it's a character action game. But no matter how you cut it, it's absolutely fascinating because it's not just like your regular hack and slash games. It's a hack and slash game where you can also use long range weapons, and i.e. guns, and you also have the whole idea of being able to transform into a demon, and that's freaking awesome. So yeah, it's a really fun series centered around the combat as the story unfolds, and it's also centered on style. Yeah. But so with that being said, right, there's a lot of math in developing the gameplay. There's a lot of math in the gameplay itself. There's a lot of math in the production and development of a video game, and we're going to talk a little bit about everything as we progress. So let's talk about that gameplay. Like I said, combat is like front and center. Like as you play, starting with the first game, you play as Dante. And there are other characters come along later on, but like you play as Dante, and he's a demon hunter, and there's his whole backstory with that. As far as the combat is concerned, you start with your sword and two guns. So you have I think back in the first one, it was just Force Edge in the very beginning in Ebony and Ivory. But anyway, as you go on, you do find more weapons, and in later games, you get weapons from defeating bosses. In any case, in that first one, the idea is so Dante is a demon. He has a certain amount of health. You can get some items that heal you, and one that makes you invincible temporarily. And you are defeating enemies and breaking objects and stuff to get orbs, which allow you to buy more items and more moves. And you're finding, like I said, the demon weapons along the way, so you can have access to more combos. And one of the cool things about this is you can start building some combos, so you could do several hits and do some serious damage if you string together things really well. So timing is key. So there's a lot of math in the damage that you're putting out. There's a lot of math in the timing to get you there. There's a lot of math in those combos. And here's the thing: as you're going on, you're also raising your style meter, and there's a lot of math in that too. So as you're going on, you're wrecking stuff and you're doing more damage, and you get a devil trigger, which allows you to turn into a demon temporarily. So you're pretty much all the stats that you're not seeing get improved. You regenerate your health, you deal more damage, you take less damage, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of math that goes into that, and it's a game that if you're not prepared for it, it will rock you. But it will rock you and say, but hey, come back, get good, we'll go again. And I think that's really cool. So there's, I think, like good incentive to keep on going, because it's like you know that nothing's impossible with it. You just kind of got to get good, and you can also evade. Um, so you have to have like good timing for that. And in the later games, the system gets like pretty involved. So like in the first Devil May Cry, it set up the template for pretty much every other Devil May Cry, and then like things just got gradually more intricate as it went on. With Devil May Cry 2, it added some things. I don't know, like I mean, Devil May Cry 2, was it as bad as people said? Not really, but it wasn't good by that same token. It was okay at best. But that being said, it did introduce some things that got used into later games, like certain weapons. Like it introduced Rebellion, and that's a cool weapon. It also added some cool looking moves that weren't really that effective in that game, but a little bit more effective in some other games. But it was Devil May Cry 3 that really reinvigorated things. It took everything that had been built up about Devil May Cry and it just upped it like crazy. So you had the standard gameplay that I had mentioned, only now when you defeated a boss, you got an additional weapon in some cases, or some additional ability. And you had the idea of styles, where like if you were rocking different styles in the game, it allow you to do different things. Like you can have Swordmaster, and it'll allow you to do more combos with your sword. It'll allow you to do more interesting things with them. You had Gunslinger, where it would allow you to do more things with your guns. You also had Royal Guard, which gave you more defensive capabilities. So you could take less damage. I think there was, if you did it the right way, you could be invincible for a very, very short amount of time. And then there's also Trickster, which allowed you to do some really cool evasive maneuvers that if you timed it right, you were just doing crazy stuff all the time. And they also had Quicksilver, which slowed down time, and Doppelganger, which created a shadow, which lets you do additional damage, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while, but I think that's the general idea. But with those two, I believe that they did take away from your Devil Trigger somewhat. But that being said, Devil May Cry 3 was a fascinating game. And if you played it over here in the West and you didn't play the special edition, your normal was Japanese hard. So it was brutal back in the day, because I feel like there was this notion that Devil May Cry 2 was too easy over here, and so they decided to give us a harder version for 3. That was changed in the special edition. But anyway, it made things very, very brutal. But my whole thing is like, so with the style and with the combinations, there's a lot of math in there. We talked about like the combinations and the timing and how there's math and all that. Now, with the different things that I mentioned, I'm sure you could start to see where the math is and all that. But the idea is like, so with like the more offensive ones, you get more options. You can be more stylistic. You can deal more damage with certain weapons. And then with the defensive one, you can take less damage, so there's math and all that. And with the more evasive one, like Trickster, you're taking no damage if you do it right, or you're recovering quickly if you do. And, there's math and all that. And one of the cool things is, so after Devil May Cry 3, which changed everything, like, 4 did come, and 4 did a lot of cool things. It added Nero into the mix, and he had his own style of gameplay. But one of the cool things is like what it did for Dante, because one of the limitations that you had in Devil May Cry 3, which didn't break the game, just made you selective, is that you can only like pick one style going in to a mission, but there were like the gold statues where you can change that style. And you also had limitations on your weapons at that time. Like you can only pick a certain number of weapons, so you had to be selective when you were going in those missions. And like I said, if you were playing it on, in the U.S. before the special edition came out, it was more brutal. Like, so you were playing a harder game and you had to get real good real quick, or just go to easy and then eventually come back. And there was no shame in that because easy was normal back for that game, for the U.S. version. So it's very interesting, and one of the biggest things I think about Devil May Cry 3 that was interesting was the idea of Virgil, Dante's brother, um, because it's a prequel, and in the first game, Virgil was there in the form of Nello Angelo or Nero Angelo, depending on what you want to do with that. Um, but and he had his own skill set, his own moves, and he was the rival throughout that game. And there's something just special about a rival fight. And like I did like a short not long ago about like boss fights and talking about like that rival battle. And like some of the things I mentioned in there was like how there's like a different music to it. And if the rival is like really good, it's either someone who is like countering your moves and has like an opposite like move pool, or someone that's like similar to you. And it could be really fun and really thrilling, and there's math and all of that. So anyway, right? And Devil May Cry 3, he comes back with a vengeance, and this version is the prequel, and Virgil is just like, he's bodying you through most of the game. And so you're getting progressively better, and each time you fight him, you feel like you're rising more to the challenge. Because there's like this, what's the term? Because this is a fairly new term, but ludonarrative dissonance. So it's that idea that sometimes what you do in the game doesn't always match with the gameplay. Oh, no, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Or let me start that over. So what you're doing in the gameplay doesn't always match with what's going on in the story. And so in Devil May Cry, even though you have to like beat Virgil, I think like on the 7th mission, that is not what's really being reflected in the story. Like he again is bodying you most of the game, so you win and you're glad and you unlock your devil trigger and everything. But within the story, Dante lost pretty much. And so, but you go on in the game and you get more skills, and all that. Things start to even out a bit more, and so it's really cool. And there's a lot of math and all that. And then the idea is like, as you're progressing, not only are you getting more weapons, but you're using your orbs, you're getting more items, you're getting more skills, and you're learning those skills, and you have to master your timing and all that good stuff. And then, like I said before, you had this idea of like multiple styles. And so it was an interesting thing because you had like Nero and Dante, which they both had different play styles, and so you had to, deal with them during different missions and adjust in your mind how you were playing the game based on who you were playing. And that was really cool. And again, there's a lot of math and all of that. And there's a lot of strategy, I think, especially with Dante in that game, because the idea was you had the weapons that he was accruing, and then there's like the styles. You can switch to the fly, and you can carry all those weapons at once. So you had to like really get in that. And there's a lot of math in that, and I feel like it just like you felt like Dante was overpowered, and there's something to be said about that. And it was good how they got that across. And one of the interesting things about 4 though is so it didn't feel complete because there's a good part of the game spent with Dante backtracking and pretty much cleaning up Nero's messes. And that's unfortunate. And I know there were some development problems with that, but there's a lot of math in that and deciding whether you're going to buy this game knowing that, or if you didn't know that, like, do you feel like you invested your time wisely at the end of it? And I gotta say, I still think it is a really good game, and you will get a lot out of it. It just feels like it could have been more than it was. Because for me, again, it's a good game, but I think it could have been a great one. But with that in mind, you got the reboot, which was a thing that happened. I don't know why exactly that happened. They just felt like Dante was outdated, and I think that was dumb. I'll be honest with you, because like no one was saying that as far as I could tell. But anyway, the reboot happened, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions on that, and I just think it was okay. better than Devil May Cry 2, but nowhere near on par with any of the other Devil May Cry games. But it happened, and for a while it seemed like that was the end of things. But then something interesting happened. Devil May Cry 5 was announced, and it seemed like it came out of nowhere. But there were some crumbs spread throughout time that were worth following that kind of led to that. Um, and Devil May Cry is just like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's freaking brilliant. Like, so Devil May Cry 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and for a long time, it was my favorite Devil May Cry game. Until Devil May Cry 5, which does actually edge it out a bit. Because it took everything that worked about Devil May Cry 3 and everything that, that worked from Devil May Cry 4 and the Devil May Cry reboot, and it rolled all that in and kind of like took some things from the Devil May Cry manga and the Devil May Cry anime, and it kind of connected everything. And there's a lot of math in all of that. Because Devil May Cry is popular, right? It made a lot of money. So yes, there was manga. Yes, there was anime. And I feel like Devil May Cry 5 kind of pulled it all together in a very brilliant way. And that's not even to mention all the like awesome music involved throughout this series. There's a lot of math and how that music was composed and structured, how it fits into each fight, and what that indicates, right? Because with a boss, you're gonna get different type of music, right? And you're gonna feel different as a result. And there's math and how that all flows. There's math in that rhythm. I mean, there's a rhythm to it, and there's math in that rhythm, yeah. Words, I can say them. But yeah, so with Devil May Cry 5, I think it's just insane because like no one was expecting it, and or maybe some people speculated but weren't fully sure, and then it was just like I think officially announced in 2018 if I recall, and then like a year later, bam, it comes out. And I had mentioned spoilers at the beginning of this video, so again, spoilers. But Virgil makes his return in his game, and it's a big freaking deal. Like, it's huge. That's the whole point. And what I think is interesting is the amount of combos in this game. So, and the amount that they've added. So, you play as Nero, you play as V, and you play as Dante in the initial version of Devil May Cry 5. And later on with the special edition, you do get to play as Virgil. And, everyone has, like, different styles of combat. And so there's a lot of math that goes into developing those styles and how they are demonstrated. Because, with Dante, he's a beast. And he's got a crazy amount of combos. And so you have all that going on, right? Because you have a lot of, like, different devil arms that he can use. So you can switch, like, any of those on the fly. And you also have his styles making a return. You can flip any of those on the fly. And you could chain together all these like really cool combos, and it's pretty amazing. And you can map out how you want to map out, you can map out your weapon layout at the start of each mission. Like, because you could be like, well, maybe I just want to bring in these weapons this time, or maybe I want to bring in these other weapons this other time. You can do what you want with it, and it's freaking brilliant. And like, you just unlock combo after combo after combo. And like, there's some things later on where that just really opens up. And you can really just use every weapon in the game how you want, and it's just insane because you have his normal arms, but like what I thought was also really fascinating about some of the weapons, because I want to talk about some of them, they're freaking awesome. So the weapons have always been a good point. Good part of like the game. They can get like pretty wacky sometimes. Like Devil May Cry 3, one of them was like literally an electric guitar that was also literally an axe. You could like play it in the game and do a solo, and so there's a lot of math in making that sync up with the gameplay. That's all brilliant. And so in Devil May Cry 5, there's so many different combos that you could do, and I think that's really cool. And like, there's a pair of gauntlets that you get in the game. There's usually a pair of gauntlets in Devil May Cry that you could get, but the difference is this one you can like switch forms. Like there's one where it's like punch heavy, and there's one where it's kick heavy. So you can switch back and forth in the fly. And while you're doing all this stuff and you're training together all these combos, your fingers are just moving all over the place. Your eyes are following all over the place, and you are doing a lot of math very, very quickly as you're doing these combos, as you're fighting these enemies. And these enemies, right? They have different amounts of health. They have different abilities. You're fighting and you're evading, and there's just math and all of it. And there is a motorcycle There's a motorcycle that breaks apart into saws, and you can even saw your opponents. Now the thing is, right? It's not as quick as some of the other weapons, but it hits it doesn't hit fast, but it hits hard, and it doesn't hit slow enough for it to be not worth using. And so it can get really cool. And then you have your devil trigger, right? So you're out there, you're fighting, you're building up your devil trigger, and then you go into that form and you're dealing out more damage, you're taking less damage. Again, math and all that. I probably said it a million times in this video, but that's okay. We're gonna keep it going. So then on top of that, later on you get a super devil trigger, right? And so that adds another layer of things into game, because you have to be strategic about that too. Because you can build up your devil trigger, and then as you're building up your devil trigger, you can pour that into the super devil trigger gauge, and kind of go from there. So you got to decide what you want to do, because is it worth it to do that, or do you need to use the devil trigger right away? It depends on your situation. It depends on your skill level. But either way, Dante is just like crazy overpowered in that game, and he has a lot of options, and it's amazing. And then you have Nero, and he has a lot of the same move sets that he had in the previous game. He can grapple people. He can use his sword and his gun like Dante. He can charge his sword and gun like Dante, but like different in a sense. And there's math and charged attacks too, right? And here there's an added element though, because he has different arms, arms that do different things. Like there's a rocket arm which you could also ride. So there's like not only like math and riding that rocket around and dealing damage with that, but there's strategy in the arms, because you have a certain amount of arms, and I think you can get up to 8, but you start off really small. And you have to buy more space in that, and you buy more by pressing your forward in the game, dealing more damage, getting more orbs. And so there's math and this whole process and how it works and functions, and I think that's really cool. And with V, his play is like very, very different, because you play as him, but he also has like different monsters that go out and different ways that they attack, and there's math and how all the timing works and just how that's all situated. So I think that's pretty cool. And then you get to Virgil in the special edition. This dude broken, stupidly crazy broken. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. So Virgil, he has been a playable character temporarily in 3 during a particular mission, but then in the special edition of 3, 4, and 5, he is playable, and each time he just gets more broken. Now, I think something that was cool about like 3 and 4 is like they also let you play as like Neville Angelo, and that was a different moveset, so you had to adjust there. Now you don't get that in 5, but what you do get is a crazy powerful version of Virgil. And what I thought was interesting, so you don't see a regular traditional devil trigger for him. Instead you see the doppelganger side, but you definitely get the super devil trigger, and it's stupidly crazily broken. Like there's this really powerful version of Judgment Cut that you see Virgil do in like 3, but they don't let you do that, and really I think until this one. So it's really cool to see that. And Virgil again is stupid crazy broken, and he's just dishing out damage, dishing out the pain. He's really quick, he's really powerful and fun to play. And now I didn't have a PS5, so I don't have like the special edition for this game, but I pretty much got that same experience, because I didn't get like turbo mode, but they did have Virgil as DLC if you had like the regular version of Devil May Cry 5 already. So I was able to play as Virgil for $5, and I was able to do like playthroughs of the regular game and also like Bloody Palace. So I feel like I got a lot of bang for my buck there. And again, he's stupid crazy broken, and I'm here for it. And special editions have been a thing since I think Devil May Cry 3, and it's always interesting to see if you want to get those or not. But like like Virgil usually comes with those, and in 4 you got Virgil, you got Trish, and you got Lady. And I honestly wish that we did have Trish and Lady for 5, because I don't think they got a lot to do, and it would have been nice to see them like upgraded gameplay wise. That being said, I think Devil May Cry is an amazing series overall. There have been some hiccups here and there. There's been some missteps, but it is largely one of my favorite video game franchises, right up there with Metal Gear Solid. It is really fun, and I think you get a lot of bang for your buck, and I'm saying "and" a lot. So you have the video games, and you have the manga, and the anime as a result. And again, Devil May Cry 5 to me connected everything pretty well, and there's just like a lot of math in how Devil May Cry functions, and I think that's all really cool. And again, I enjoy that series. And honestly, if they never make another game, you know what? I'm fine with it. Devil May Cry 5 was that good. Like, just saying. So yeah, it was really cool, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to say that I haven't said. Dante Must Die mode. One of the funnest things for me is working my way up to do that. Because at that point, the enemies all dish out more damage, and they have devil triggers of their own. But not only is it a good test of your skill, but I think it's worth the investment because you will get infinite devil trigger after you beat that mode. Like, there are some other modes that they have after that, but they're not as interesting. Dante Must Die is the one that like I've played in every game outside of the traditional setting. And I think it's absolutely worth it because you get that infinite devil trigger, and you can just go beast mode on everything. And that's in terms of like difficulty settings. One of the things that I do like to do is play through Bloody Palace. Every Devil May Cry that I had that had Bloody Palace in it, I'll beat it. Yeah, I had a blast. But yeah, so Devil May Cry, awesome series, one of my favorites. Very math heavy, whether you realize it or not. And if you hadn't before and you did after watching this video, I hope that enhances the game for you. It certainly does for me. Either way, it's an amazing series. I'll see you in the next video. Professor Prime out.